He knocked me over. I landed on the dog bowl.
This one's wife. We need to return to the royal family. Hello. I'm H.G. Tudor. What's this then? A suggestion of a return by the gruesome twosome to the royal family? The necessity of return? Why? What for? Is it accurate? Well, Stacey Eldridge writes for skynews.com.au, g'day, financial woes. This one's wife wants to reconcile with royal family to live part-time in Kensington Palace with Prince Harry and save money. A royal insider has claimed this one's wife is desperate to move back to Kensington Palace over severe financial woes. But the Duchess of Sussex would be forced to stop trashing the royal family. This one's wife is hoping for a reconciliation with the royal family with the aim of moving back into Kensington Palace part-time with Prince Harry, a royal insider claims. The source told the Mirror the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's financial woes were so severe this one's wife wanted to spend 8 months of the year in Monty Shitshow and the remaining 4 months living in the United Kingdom. According to the insider, this one's wife hoped the arrangement could potentially aid in repairing the strains on her marriage with Prince Harry. The mother of two also reportedly hopes it will improve the Sussex's relationship with King Charles, who has expressed a desire for the family to be reunited. Now, pausing there, Charles would want the reuniting to occur because it would make life easier for him with regard to the issue of control and, of course, as part of his facade that he operates. The article continues by explaining, however, an insider told Life and Style magazine the only way the plan could ever actually work was if the Sussexes stopped trashing the royal family. This one's wife and Harry have to agree not to speak ill of the royals again. That's a must, the source told the publication. Now, whether you believe that such a condition is required, the fact is this one's wife wouldn't be able to adhere to it. Why? Her narcissism wouldn't let her. Remember, let's just say for a moment this 2/3, 1/3 arrangement occurs. So she spends 4 months a year in the United Kingdom, living at Kensington Palace, and presumably part of the terms of such an arrangement would be that she undertakes some form of royal work. The problem that's going to immediately occur is that she will continue with her bossy, bullying, stroppy manner behind the scenes. She will compete with the Waleses because she can't help herself. That she will want to do things a particular way, just as she did previously, and that the relevant decision makers will explain to her you can't do it that way. They're not going to change, and neither is she. She is a narcissist. She's pathologically incapable of behaving in a different way for a sustained permanent period of time. Certain narcissists can effect minor changes in order to dupe an individual to make it look like the narcissist has changed, but fundamental permanent alteration is impossible. And therefore what will happen is that in the course of her, if she were to come back to the United Kingdom, more about whether she would do in a moment, but the fact is that if she did, she would still face repeated threats to control, which would mean what? Her passive aggressiveness would cause her to externally manifest those threats to control as complaints about people being horrible to her, i.e., the victimhood would continue. And, while she might behind the scenes be unpleasant and bullying towards staff, externally to the world, she would want to portray an image of she's the one who's been hard done to once again, which would then mean she would have to criticise the royal family. She wouldn't be able to help herself. As a mid-range narcissist, certain things would happen which would threaten her control and The likely response, therefore, would be for her to smear and triangulate and do so unfavourably. She doesn't stop needing control. She doesn't stop needing fuel. Those requirements will continue, and therefore, if, and it is a substantial if, she were to return to the United Kingdom for 1/3 of the year, all that would happen is that she would revert to smearing the royal family once she was back in Monty Shit Show as part of asserting control over them. She simply can't help herself. The publication continues by explaining it would be an utter embarrassment if they were to be kicked out of the family for a second time. It comes days after the Sussexes were crowned two of the entertainment industry's biggest losers of 2023, making an appearance in the Hollywood Reporter's brutally honest running-down of who had had the worst year in show business. Writer-at-large James Hibbard wrote a scathing review of Harry and This One's Wife year after the pair were dropped from their $20 million Spotify deal and labelled fucking grifters by top executive Bill Simmons. It then goes on to talk about their whiny projects and the brutal roasting from South Park and a whiny Netflix documentary and a whiny biography, etc., ensuring that there was further repetition of the criticisms of them, demonstrating their Loserville status. Is this something that's going to happen? Well, it's clear that they've got financial woes. On the one hand, you have an individual who has become accustomed to this particular residual benefit. This one's wife loves money. It enables her to buy expensive clothing that doesn't fit, expensive jewellery that she can show off to people who are impoverished. It enables her to wander around with security to make herself feel important. It enables her to put out PR puff pieces, which she requires in order to make herself seem important and for the purposes of gaining control and fuel, etc. All of this is hugely expensive. Travelling by private jet, a large mortgage on a property, etc. So they've got severe financial demands. But where's the money coming from? Spotify got rid of them. Dior said no. Audible said no. Nothing has manifested in recent weeks or even months that would show that there is a potential income stream for them. They've been living off the Netflix money, but at some point Netflix will say enough's enough, you're not very good at this content creation game, and we see that the public has largely fallen bored of your whining about the royal family. Thereafter, what have you got? They haven't got businesses, they're not entrepreneurs, they've got no notable talents. Thus, it's clear that the level of demand that she has financially is not going to be met by what they've got in the pipeline, and thus this amounts to a big problem. Harry, of course, will be blamed for all of this. You haven't got a proper job. If you hadn't written what you'd written in Spare, if you hadn't told Omid to write what was in Bell Endgame, hang on, you told him. Harry will be the scapegoat for all of this. Thus, there is a pressing need for their finances to be shored up, and one route to achieving that would be to come crawling back to the royal family. Now, a narcissist could well do that, because the narcissist has that brass neck of, notwithstanding the way that she has behaved, still returning with the begging bowl and saying, well, you were horrible to me, so you should help me out, demonstrating that sense of entitlement. But it strikes me that even though there's the possibility that that could happen, it's not a likelihood. Why? Nothing's going to change with regard to the media's dislike of her. Nothing's going to change with regard to the UK's population dislike of her. And various members of the royal family will simply say, you can't readmit these troublemakers, notably William. There will be, therefore, not only a hostility to them coming back in terms of within the royal family, but this one's wife's narcissism will perceive that there are still too many threats to control to her that would suggest you can't go back there. Even though there is this financial pressure that exists, going back there isn't going to work out. You mustn't do this. What's the alternative? Well, there is actually an easier one for a narcissist such as this one's wife, and it's this. Disengage from Harry as a consequence of finding someone else that has got money. Rather than be subjected to almost like guerrilla warfare of returning to the United Kingdom and facing daily threats to control posed by the press, the public, and members of the royal family. Her narcissism, faced with the choice, would say, okay, so we might get the residual benefit of returning to the royal family and receiving some financial help there, but she's still hugely unpopular with the media, with the public, and other members of the royal family. So it's going to be a real rough ride, notwithstanding the money that we could be obtained. Or why don't we just go and find somebody else who's got loads of money? Now, there's no guarantee, of course, that she'd be able to do so, but the prospects of success of ensnaring some elderly billionaire, whilst not necessarily guaranteed, indeed they're far from it, but those prospects of success are better than returning to the UK with all of the various threats to control that occur. And thus, the narcissism will essentially evaluate that and decide we steer her in the direction of finding a new husband and getting rid of Ginger Bollocks, because he, after all, is the reason that we find ourselves in this pickle in the first place. Accordingly, by understanding her narcissism, we can work out that it's unlikely that she will return to the royal family, and instead, more likely that she'll seek financial aid through ensnaring someone else. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.